Hi, everyone. This is Lieutenant Colonel Rob Kirkland back at you here in July of 2022. And what I want to do today is talk to you about the changes in the Air Force High School Scholarship Program. And this is regarding several things that came out. One was a guidance letter to Air Force ROTC detachments from the head of Air Force ROTC at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama, stating that there would be an increase in the on-campus scholarship program known as the ICSP, or the In College Scholarship Program, uh, with the award of scholarships, Type 2 scholarships at $18,000 a year for the remainder of the time that a Air Force ROTC candidate is in their program, usually awarded either at the freshman, sophomore, or when they get back from their uh, POC course after the end of their sophomore year, the awarding of either a Type 2 scholarship at $18,000 a year or a Type 1 at full scholarship at any public or private college or university. So there's going to be a significant increase in on campus scholarships for cadets that have proven themselves in Air Force ROTC. So, whenever you increase the amount of scholarships going to one portion of Air Force ROTC, it's going to decrease in other areas or in another area. And the area that it's being taken out of is the high school scholarship program, or the HSSP. So, the HSSP has been a main uh, uh, place for ROTC scholarships. So in 2018, or actually before 2020, there was more than 2,000 scholarships awarded, and recently those have decreased to 1,000 last year, and it looks like there's going to be a significant decrease in the scholarships for the high school scholarship program this year. And the numbers really haven't come out yet, but my guess is it's going to be probably somewhere around 500 or less scholarships that are going to be given out for the HSSP program for academic year 2022 to 2023. And, um, you know, so that is obviously a significant decrease. So, I mean, we were looking at 2018 at a selection rate of approximately 50% to a selection rate last year that was probably hovering somewhere around uh, 25 to 20%. To this year, the likelihood of a selection rate is 10% or less. So that is a significant, obviously, a significant decrease in the high school scholarship program for Air Force ROTC. The second change is reflected on the Air Force ROTC website, is the elimination for the high school scholarship program of the Type 2 and Type 7 scholarships. So the Type 2 was $18,000 a year for every year you're in college, and the Type 7 was 4 years of in-state tuition scholarship, or it could be converted to a Type 2 3-year scholarship at $18,000 a year for the last 3 years. Those two scholarships have been eliminated from the HSSP, and the only scholarship now is the Type 1, which is a full scholarship award to any public or private college or university. So, obviously, a very generous scholarship, but in the past, Air Force ROTC has only awarded about 10% of the scholarships to Type 1. So, for example, last year there was 1,000 scholarships awarded and only 10% received uh, Type 1s. So, this past year, only 100 scholarships were given out, or around 100 scholarships were given out in Type 1. So if there, so you've while the numbers haven't come out for this year, if they're decreasing the amount of money, less scholarships, and they only awarded 100 Type 1 scholarships last year, you got to believe that worst case, we're probably looking at only 100 scholarships being offered for the high school scholarship program this year. I don't think it's going to be that bad, but it may be 200, it may be 300. It certainly isn't going to be more than 500 based on, my guess. Now, I've talked to several detachment commanders of Air Force ROTC, and they have no idea at this point, as of July 18th, what the numbers are as far as what Air Force ROTC is going to come out with regarding the final scholarship numbers that they're going to award to Air Force ROTC. So it's really up in the air right now. We really don't know what's going on. Air Force ROTC kind of dropped this on everybody, and we're sort of and we're really scrambling right now to try to figure out what that future of the HSSP is. What I can say though is that it's likely that you're going to have to score a lot higher on the SAT or ACT in order to get one of these Air Force scholarships. Usually our guidance for like the Air Force Academy is, in order to have a good shot at it, you need to score above a 1400 SAT or over a 32 or higher ACT score in order to have a shot at the academies, Air Force Academy. I think you're going to need to do that or better for Air Force ROTC now to have a really good shot at a scholarship. And keep in mind that Air Force ROTC is best sitting, not like the Air Force Academy where it's super scored. So you got to get that score with an individual test, not in combining multiple tests. So that's another, obviously, hurdle that you got to overcome with Air Force ROTC. So that is, obviously a significant, I think, increase in the score that's going to be required. And of course, you're going to have to do very, very well on your interview, as the interview is a significant part of this application overall, given that it's around 30 to 40% of the overall scholarship selection is your interview. The other thing is, if you want to be an Air Force officer, the conclusion you have to draw is that you need to go on, that you may not get a scholarship in high school, but if you go on to campus and you perform well in Air Force ROTC, the likelihood of getting a scholarship, that maybe pays for 3 years or 2 years of your college increases. Now, you may not get the full scholar. If you're going to a private school, you may not get a full full tuition scholarship. You may get $18,000 towards your private school tuition, but it's better than it was in the past, where there was many Air Force ROTC cadets that would go through colleges and universities with no scholarship at all. And so if you do well and you perform well in Air Force ROTC in college, that the chances of you getting a scholarship are higher, because the money is being taken away from the high school seniors and given to cadets in Air Force ROTC that are already performing well in colleges and universities. So the question you might ask is, well, why did the Air Force ROTC do this? Well, as I explained a few seconds ago, there was a lot of ROTC cadets on campus that would go through their entire 4 years and not get a scholarship, whereas there'd be high school students that had not proven themselves coming onto campus, having a 4-year scholarship, and maybe washing out of the program or not making it through the training for the first 2 years to make it to the officer course that's at the end of the sophomore year, the AS 200 year. And so the Air Force saw this as a way to be able to reward those students that have done well on campus and give them the money, rather than somebody from high school who's unproven. And so, given also the selectivity of the Air Force ROTC and the fact that the majority of Air Force ROTC cadets in the past are not on scholarship, the Air Force probably concluded that they could take a chance and decrease the high school scholarship program and not erode any of the recruiting goals or officer quality that they get in colleges and universities. So I don't believe that the Army ROTC, based on my experience having been an Army ROTC professor of military science, or the Navy could probably get away with what the Air Force is doing here. But the Air Force has so many cadets in their programs that are willing to go through the program and not be on scholarship, that I think Air Force ROTC felt they could take this chance and see what happens and give the scholarships to people that have proven themselves. Now, whether or not one agrees or disagrees with this policy, it is a significant change from the past, and one that we need to recognize and be able to anticipate. So it's going to be a big hit or hit on a person for if they're interested in an Air Force ROTC scholarship coming out of high school. There's just going to be less of those, and the likelihood of getting an award is much less. Now, before I conclude here today on this, I'm just going to give a kind of a quick rant, I might say, regarding what's going on here. Is that this is probably the most significant change to a Armed Services ROTC scholarship program in my memory. And I've been doing this since 2005, either as a cadre member or as a consultant for ROTC scholarships. And so this is the most significant change in a scholarship that I have seen in my 17 plus years doing this. And so Air Force ROTC just drops this out of thin air without any sort of warning to anybody outside of their own detachment commanders. This goes through a rumor mill on Reddit and then on posting boards, and nobody has any idea what the impact of this is going to be. But then it's just dropped on candidates who in the past have had to high school seniors who in the past had seen their brothers and sisters or other candidates get scholarships, and now are faced with a significantly changed landscape as a high school senior. So it's just part and parcel of the Air Force doing things like this. Air Force mismanaging their scholarship program, taking away scholarships from people. You'll notice if you go to one of my previous podcasts, you'll see how the Air Force took away a bunch of scholarships from candidates who weren't able to make it through their POC course after the end of their sophomore year. This was highlighted in the Washington Post article, and the Air Force reversed their decision after there were complaints made to members of Congress regarding the arbitrary taking away of scholarships by Air Force ROTC to people who have been awarded 4-year Type 1 scholarships out of high school. So if you want to listen more about that, you can go to my previous podcast that talks about that issue, as well as the Washington Post article on this. But this is just another example of the Air Force just dropping this and then having candidates deal with it. And so the other problem I have with it is that unless these candidates, these high school scholarship program candidates who are seniors in high school, are aware of this change, they're going to go through this, going to fill out the application, going to prepare, going to take the time to go to interviews based on their previous understanding of what the program awarded and what the award rates were, and go to these interviews and spend all of this time and energy getting ready for these interviews, when in fact their chances of getting a scholarship are extremely low. So this is going to be a massive waste of time for some applicants who just don't even have a shot at this scholarship now. because of the changes. And so it's just a bad look, another bad look for Air Force ROTC, in my opinion, and one where we're just going to have to navigate this and and look at it and figure it out and see where we move forward from here, because really this is a drastic decrease in the HSSP high school, the high school scholarship program for Air Force ROTC, with a selection rate, by the way, of 2018 of around 50%, and now a selection rate likely of, my guess would be, maybe as low as 5%. And so significant decrease there, and one that is going to have a significant impact. So I've also have a blog post on this on the ROTC consulting.com website. But hopefully this was helpful to you. And, please drop me an email at info@rotcconsulting.com if you'd like to, get any further thoughts on this. But I just want to get this podcast out to you to let you know this significant change and the impact it's likely going to have on high school applicants for the Air Force ROTC scholarship in this year and subsequent years. Thanks, and we'll talk to you next time.